When I moved into what I thought was my dream neighborhood, I had no idea I was walking into a war zone. The streets were quiet, the people seemed friendly, and there was this perfect little park just down the road. It felt like I'd hit the jackpot. But everything changed the day I met Tom, the whole president. Tom didn't just run the Homeowners Association, he ruled it like his own personal kingdom. He had this uncanny ability to spot the tiniest infractions. A trash can left out for an extra hour. Warning letter. Your lawn grew a couple of inches too high. Warning letter. He even sent a notice to my neighbor for parking slightly off-center in their own driveway. It was absurd. For a while, I played the game. I was the model resident. I followed every single rule, paid every fee on time, and kept my property so spotless you could eat off the driveway. I just wanted to live in peace. But peace wasn't on Tom's agenda. One afternoon, I found an official-looking envelope in my mailbox. It was a notice from the HOA claiming my fence was not regulation height. According to Tom, my brand new fence was 6 inches too tall. 6 inches? I couldn't believe it. I immediately pulled out the thick binder of HOA bylaws and read the section on fencing. And just as I suspected, my fence was perfectly within the legal limit. So, I did the reasonable thing. I sent a polite email to the HOA, pointing out the mistake and citing the specific bylaw. I figured it was just a simple misunderstanding, but then radio silence. A week went by with no response. Then another letter arrived. This time, it wasn't a warning. It was a $250 fine. Okay. Now I was mad. I decided to go to the next HOA meeting to sort this out face to face. I walked in, ready to plead my case. Tom was sitting at the head of the table, arms crossed, with this smug little smirk on his face. When it was my turn to speak, I calmly explained the situation, bylaws in hand. Before I could even finish, he cut me off. Rules are rules, he said, not even looking at me. If you don't like it, you can move. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about a fence. It was never about the fence. It was about power. It was about control. And he had chosen me as his next target. After that meeting, the harassment escalated. He'd schedule random inspections of my property while I was at work. More fines started appearing. For the most ridiculous things. My favorite was a warning for unauthorized plants in my garden. They were marigolds. For goodness sake. He was obsessed. And I knew I couldn't just roll over and let this bully win. It was time to fight back. I started by digging into my rights as a homeowner. And I discovered something powerful. I had the right to request and inspect all of the HOA's financial records. So, I filed an official public records request. Tom tried to block me at every turn. First, he stole for weeks, claiming the files were misplaced. Then he said they were in storage. But I was persistent. I knew the law was on my side. Eventually, he had no choice but to hand them over. And when I finally got my hands on those documents, I sat down at my kitchen table and started reading. What I found was shocking. It was worse than I ever imagined. There were thousands of dollars in maintenance expenses with no corresponding receipts. I saw huge payments made to a landscaping company. And a quick search revealed it was owned by Tom's own brother-in-law. But the real bombshell was the president bonuses. Tom had been paying himself thousands of dollars from our HOA funds, bonuses that were never approved by the board or disclosed to the homeowners. He wasn't just a bully, he was a thief. I spent the entire weekend compiling everything. I scanned every suspicious invoice, highlighted every questionable transaction, and created a detailed report. Then, I attached it to an email and sent it to the entire HOA mail list. The next HOA meeting was absolute chaos. People I'd never heard speak up before were on their feet, shouting. Homeowners were furious, waving printouts of the evidence I'd sent. They demanded answers. They demanded his resignation. The smug smirk was finally wiped off Tom's face. Within a week, he was voted out as president. A formal investigation was launched, and it later confirmed he had embezzled over $20,000 from our community. He was forced to repay every single cent, plus hefty legal fees. And as for me, My fence is still standing, exactly 6 inches tall, every time I walk past it. I can't help but smile. Not because of a silly fence, but because it's a reminder that sometimes, all you need to do to beat a bully is to stand your ground and refuse to back down. Thanks so much for watching and listening to my story. If you've ever had a crazy HOA experience, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.